Well, hello there people from the internet, how you doing? I am the Russian Sniper, and today we're talking about Battlefield 1. Now, Battlefield 1 has been unveiled a couple of days ago, and we know it's going to be set in World War 1. Now, I've always been, well, I shouldn't say a fan, but I've always been keen in learning as much as I can about the history. I've always loved that sort of side of the stories, watching the battles and learning about the commanders and learning about what caused this and what caused that. So I figured that before we get to see some multiplayer gameplay, which is going to be in about a month's time, it's going to be on June the 12th, it's going to be an event in London, it's called EA Play, and we'll get to play it there and bring back some footage. But until then, I figured it'd be a nice way for us to learn a little bit about the war, how the war got started, what was the major powers involved, why, some of the earliest machines of war, and all that sort of cool stuff. So I figured it would be a nice way for us to all learn something in the process, and then when we get to actually play Battlefield 1, which is going to be on October the 21st, well, you can actually get the game a couple of days early if you pre-order the Enlist Edition or something like that. But until then, we get to learn a little bit about the war. So we'll start off with the beginning of the war, what started World War 1. Now, I will try and sort of simplify this as much as I can. There is a lot of complications, a lot of things that will make this go for years and years, if you want to sort of put it that way, but at least we'll try and give the simplest answer that we can. Now, the simplest answer is that the immediate cause was the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. Franz Ferdinand was the Archduke of Austria-Hungary, and his death at the hands of Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian nationalist with ties to a secretive military group known as the Black Hand, propelled the major European military powers towards war. Now, on June the 28th, 1914, Gavrilo Princip assassinates Franz Ferdinand. On July the 28th, 1914, Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia. August the 2nd, 1914, the Ottoman Empire, which is Turkey, and Germany would sign a secret treaty of alliance. August the 3rd, Germany declares war on France. August the 4th, Germany invades Belgium, leading to Britain declaring war on Germany. And August the 10th, 1914, Austria-Hungary invades Russia. The major alliances by 1914 of the war were Britain, France and Russia, Germany, Austria-Hungary and Italy, which comprised the Triple Alliance. As the war progressed, further acts of aggression drew other countries in, including the United States, into conflict, many others including Australia, New Zealand, India, and most of the African colonies would fight for their imperial rulers. Now, the first battle of World War I was the Battle of Marne. The Battle of Marne is also known as the Miracle of Marne. This was the first battle of World War I. It was fought between the 5th and the 12th of September 1914. It resulted in an Allied victory against the German army. The battle was the culmination of the German advance into France and pursuit of the Allies' armies, which followed the Battle of the Frontiers in August and reached the eastern outskirts of Paris. A counterattack by 6 French field armies and the British Expeditionary Force, the BEF, along the Marne River forced the Imperial German Army to retreat northwest. The Battle of Marne was a victory for the Allies, but it also set the stage for 4 years of trench warfare, stalemate on the Western Front. In the reveal trailer of Battlefield 1, we did get to see some tanks. Little Willie was a prototype in development of the British Mark I tank, constructed in the autumn of 1915. It was the first completed tank prototype in history. Little Willie is the oldest surviving individual tank preserved in one of the museums. You can still see that today. Now, Little Willie was designed in July of 1915. It was produced by August and September of 1915. It weighed 16.5 tons. It took a crew of 6, and the best it could do is 3.2 kilometers an hour, which is 2 miles an hour. The first use of tanks on the battlefield was the use of the British Mark I. Tanks of the Battle of Flers-Courcelette, parts of the Battle of Somme on September the 15th, 1916. With a mixed result, many of them broke down, but nearly a third of the tanks succeeded. The development of tanks in World War I was a response to the stalemate of the trench warfare had created on the Western Front. Although vehicles that incorporated the basic principle of the tank, armor, firepower, all that terrain mobility had been projected in the decades or so before the war, it was the heavy casualties sustained in the first few months that stimulated the development of tanks. Many tanks were built in the war by most of the nations, but when it came down to the game changer, this was it. Meet Little Willie's big brother. Also known as the British Mark IV, it was produced in May 1917 until the end of 1918. It had a weight of 29 tons. It took a crew of 8 to man this, and he also did an amazing 6.4 kilometers an hour, which is 4 miles an hour. The Mark IV tank came in 2 variations, which is male 28 tons, female 27 tons. As for armament, there was 3 MGs and 2 6-pounders for the male, and 5 303 Lewis MG for the female. Nearly 460 Mark IV tanks were used during the Battle of Cambrai in November of 1917, showing that a large concentration of tanks could quickly overcome even the most sophisticated trench system. And with that last piece of information, we'll go ahead and leave it there for the first episode. I'm really hoping that you guys will enjoy something like this. I don't want to make it too long because I know it can get a little bit tedious and a bit boring. So hopefully sort of 5, 6, 7 minutes long. It should just be long enough to keep you interested in it and learn a little bit more about the history. In the next one, we'll try and cover all the vehicles that we saw in the Battlefield 1 trailer. We'll try and cover the biplanes. I know the Red Baron's in there. There's a couple of other things that we need to cover, and I think it'll be pretty cool just to learn some more stuff about the war before you actually get to play and fight in World War I. You'll have to let me know in the comment section if you'd like to see something specific to be covered in the next video or so when we're going to do one of these. But I will be covering all the vehicles that we saw in the trailer, so don't worry. At one point or another, we'll get to that vehicle that you want to hear about. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. I will see you in the next one.